We'll spend a few minutes and just chant Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama together. Shri Krishna Okay, Sitaram, once again everyone. It is wonderful to be here with all of you. We are seeing this most fascinating Shastra called the Mahabharata. Mahabharata is an itihasa, just like the Ramayana, but it is completely different from the Ramayana in that the Ramayana presents the ideal everything, and the Mahabharata presents life as it is. And so where we have reached in this great epic is the Mahabharata war has started. We're on day 11. Where we are is the actual Mahabharata war has finally started. More than half of the text Mahabharata is spent describing the circumstances that lead up to the war. And it doesn't talk about one day, this person was born and then this is what happened with them. It doesn't talk about one generation. It talks about 3 generations of causes that lead finally to this great, huge war that we know as the Mahabharata war. It is like the climax. We've reached the climax, right? The war is finally happening. On paper, it is a war between 2 sets of cousins, the Pandavas and the Kauravas. And it is a war between them for the purpose of land. On paper, people say they're fighting for kingdom. But actually, if you double click just a tiny little bit, it is not a war between family for land. It is a war between dharma and adharma. It is a war between righteousness and wickedness. That is what it actually is. In the name of kingdom, it is a battle that is being fought for dharma. Then, symbolically now, if you see, it is not a historic battle that just happened thousands of years ago. It is a battle that happens in our mind every single day. Every single day, we have in our mind endless thoughts. Some thoughts are like the Pandavas, good thoughts. Some thoughts are like the Kauravas, bad thoughts. Are all our thoughts good? No. We have more good thoughts or more bad thoughts? Exactly the same way, there are 5 Pandavas and 100 Kauravas. See the ratio? 5 to 100. Does that sound like reality? Now, even though there are 5 Pandavas and there are 100 Kauravas, somehow the Pandava side seems stronger. There are maybe almost 1 million people more on the Kaurava side. I'll tell you, about 2.4 million people are fighting on the Kaurava side. No, 2.5 and about 1.4 million fighting on the Kaurava side. Imagine the size of this battle, this war that is happening, right? And I'll tell you a little bit about the Kauravas. The Kauravas, the head of the Kauravas, his name is Duryodhana. I hope nobody's name here is Duryodhana. Duryodhana is the leader of the Kauravas. This Duryodhana has he has 100 brothers. He is, because they were 100 plus 1. 100 brothers and him. Okay. He does not like his cousins because of jealousy. Strong jealousy and strong desire for a throne that is rightfully theirs. So he wants to usurp the kingdom and he doesn't want to give it to them. Then on the Kaurava side, you have another big player. His name is Shakuni Mamu. This is Duryodhana's Mamu. He is the one who took fire initially to cause the whole thing to happen. Then they have a bigger army, like I told you. They also have on their side Bhishma Pitamaha. Bhishma Pitamaha is the grand uncle, what they call him grandfather, of both the Pandavas and the Kauravas. And he is a great hero. But he's fighting on the Kauravas side. He feels helpless to fight for the Kauravas because he has promised that he is going to protect the throne of the kingdom, whoever is sitting there. When Duryodhana asked him to be the commander-in-chief of their army, he said, "No problem, but I will not kill the Pandavas and they will have my blessings. I will fight with their army, but I will not kill them." This was his condition. Then you have another person on that side, is called Drona. Drona is actually the guru who taught warfare to the Pandavas and to the Kauravas together. Same school they went to together, right? And this Drona has a boon. Well, Drona is so powerful that he cannot be killed unless he doesn't have a weapon in his hand. Bhishma cannot be killed because he's allowed to choose his own time of death, so nobody can kill him. Then you have Kripacharya. Kripacharya is another teacher of the Pandavas and Kauravas, and he is Chiranjeevi, means he will never die. He lives forever. So think about the people on the Kaurava side and think about their powers. Then you have someone called Shalya. Shalya happens to be the Mamu of two of the Pandavas. But because of Duryodhana's trickery, he's fighting for the Kauravas. And he is as powerful as the most powerful person on the Pandava side, Bhima. Then you have Karna. Karna is Duryodhana's best friend. He loves him more than anyone in the world. And until yesterday, Karna hated the Pandavas as much as Duryodhana hated them. But yesterday, in the story, he found out that actually the Pandavas are his brothers. He didn't know that. And now, the hatred that he had for them has turned into a love that he cannot describe. And he sticks to his loyalty, his friendship for Duryodhana, and he still fights on Duryodhana's side. Now you see how many powerful people are on the side of the Kauravas. But all of them, where is their heart? With the Pandavas. So now you have, no matter how powerful a person is, if their heart is in one place and their body is in one place, how powerful can they be? You cannot be powerful if your heart and your body are separated. This happens to us all the time. Our heart or our mind says, don't tell lies. Right? Very common. Don't tell lies. Be good. Be dharmic. Then, what happens? Our mouth says something else. Correct or wrong? Right? So our heart has one thing in mind and our body is doing something else. Our heart, our mind, our inside is telling us to be healthy. And what is our hand grabbing in the kitchen? Junk food. We all know. So when our body and our mind are split, there is no strength behind our efforts. And this is the situation that is going on in the Kaurava camp. Now you come to the Pandavas. 5 Pandavas, a much smaller army, but they have on their side Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Bhagavan Sri Krishna, who has refused to lift a weapon. He's not fighting. What he's doing is he's the charioteer of Arjuna in the Pandava army. Now, just before the war began, Dhritarashtra, who is the father of the Kauravas, of Duryodhana and all his brothers, was approached by Bhagavan Veda Vyasaji to ask, do you want to see this war? And Duryodhana's father knows all his sons are going to be killed in this war. And he says, no, I don't want to see, but I want to know what is happening. He's blind, and he wants to know what is happening. So his charioteer, his minister called Sanjaya, is given Divya Drishti, special eyesight, by which he can see everything happening on the battlefield. He can hear the thoughts of everybody also, and he never gets tired. This is the blessing he has to be able to tell Dhritarashtra what is happening on the battlefield. And so, on the 10th day of the battle, of the war, 10th day of the war, Sanjaya runs to Dhritarashtra, angry, fuming. And Dhritarashtra says, what happened? Tell me what happened on the battlefield. And so Sanjaya starts to relate from day 1 what happened on the battlefield. So he's telling Dhritarashtra what happened, 10 days delayed broadcast. Right? This is how it happens. And he tells him how just before the war, Yudhishthira, the head of the Pandavas, he goes and he gets blessings from the elders who are fighting for the Kauravas, and he says, please bless us. And they say, may you be victorious. Telling the enemies, may you be victorious. And then we saw how Arjuna panics, and because of his attachment and his weakness, he doesn't want to fight. And Bhagavan Sri Krishna gives him the most special Bhagavad Gita. And it comes right in the middle of Mahabarata. And then we see how so many armies, the armies were being destroyed on both sides. And so now we have reached the 3rd day of the war of the Pandavas and the Kauravas. 3 days are finished. The most momentous occasion, most momentous thing that happened in these 3 days was that Bhagavan Sri Krishna had vowed not to pick up a weapon. Arjuna is supposed to fight with Bhishma, his grandfather. And Bhishma is causing destruction to the army like the sun melts the snow. You know, if the sun comes out, no snow can survive. That's the description given. And Arjuna is sending arrows to him like flower petals. Soft, soft, soft. He's fighting with him. And so Bhagavan Sri Krishna gets angry and he says Arjuna is not doing what he's supposed to do. And he jumps out of his chariot and he runs towards Bhishma and he picks up his Sudarshan Chakra and he's about to send it to Bhishma. And at that time, Arjuna goes and he holds on to Krishna. He says, please, 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 please don't. I promise I will fight. I promise I will fight. And Arjuna is crying. And Bhagavan Sri Krishna gets back into the chariot. And Arjuna really fights. He really, really fights. Right? Now this is where we are. Okay. Now the 4th day. This is where we continue from, the 4th day. Duryodhana's brothers start to die. Bhima, brother number 2 on the Pandava side, has taken a vow that he is going to kill every single one of the 100 Kaurava brothers. Vow he has taken. And so he starts to kill them like flies almost, he starts to kill them. And so Duryodhana goes to complain now to Bhishma and says, look, my brothers are dying. Could you not have done anything to prevent it? This is happening because you love the Pandavas and you're partial to them and you're not fighting properly. Meanwhile, Bhishma is giving his whole life's effort to fight for Duryodhana. So he's very hurt, but again and again over the days, over and over, Duryodhana taunts Bhishma. And his words hurt Bhishma stronger than arrows. You know, sometimes words hurt more than weapons. Like that. His words come and they're just piercing this Bhishma who knows that he's giving so much to fight on the side of and to fight for Duryodhana. But Duryodhana cannot see it. And Bhishma tells him, listen, I cannot kill the Pandavas. It is not that I don't want to. Whether I want to is different. I cannot kill them because they are protected by Krishna. They are protected by Dharma. And so therefore they are invincible. They cannot be killed. Get that in your head. I cannot kill them. And so he says, reconsider this. Just let us stop the war. But Duryodhana, is it his hard ears? He just won't listen. And so, over the next few days, Duryodhana speaks to Bhishma over and over again. And he says, it is because of you we are losing. And he even says to Drona, their guru, that you have to do something. And Drona says to him, all we can do is our duty. Beyond that, we can't do anything. We cannot kill the Pandavas. It is impossible. Now, so all Duryodhana is thinking about is how we're losing and these people aren't being good enough. That's all that's in his mind. Meanwhile, the Pandavas, what is their thought? Their thought is how unfortunate it is that so many people are losing their lives because of us. How unfortunate it is that we have to fight with our gurus and our uncles and our grandfather, and how unfortunate life has come to this situation. See the difference in the attitude, the bhava between the two? One is feeling sorry that they have to fight this, and the other one is thinking, they're not fighting well enough for me. The difference between dharma and adharma in every day's attitude when they go. But they were all fighting very vehemently on both sides. The Kauravas had a bigger army, but it is described in the Mahabarata that when the big, huge Kaurava army came and met the Pandavas' army, it was like, when Ganga goes into the sea, when a river goes and reaches the sea, right? Like the Demerara finally ends up at the ocean. The sweetness of the river is lost in the saltiness of the ocean, helplessly, right? In the same way, the valor and the greatness of the Kauravas was lost in front of the power and greatness of the Pandavas. Size did not matter at all over here. Now, it is a very interesting thing that so many warriors on the Pandava side had an opportunity to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, to kill Duryodhana's brothers. But they knew Bhima had taken a vow to be the one to kill all of them. And so they kept letting these brothers go. So they didn't kill him. And the other notable thing is that when battles were being fought, the rule was that if someone is fleeing, like you're fighting with them and they realize they can't defeat you and they run away, you're not supposed to run behind them, you let them run. If someone is fighting with you and then they faint, you stop fighting with them and you let their charioteer take them away. Rules like this were set. And so countless times, the Kaurava armies, great big fighters, they would run away or they would faint and they would be taken away. Endless times this happened. They were defeated by the Pandavas. Okay. Now fast forward to the 8th night of the war. 8 nights have finished. And after sunset, the fighting would stop. That was a rule. When the sun sets, no more fighting. So after sunset, everyone would go back to their tents and rest and rejuvenate and all of that. And they were all friends afterwards. Means if you have a friend in the other camp, you're allowed to go and hang out with them. There's no rule that the camps can't mix. Because after sunset, the war is off like that. So now, on the 8th night, Duryodhana goes to his friend Karna. By the way, Bhishma had a rule. He said, if I'm going to fight, your friend Karna cannot fight. Because we don't get along, so it's me or him. And so Karna was not fighting, as long as Bhishma was there fighting. And so Duryodhana goes and complains to Karna that they're not fighting hard enough. Look, all the Pandavas are destroying us. And Karna says, well, tell him if he doesn't want to fight with them, let me come and fight. Let him sit down. His friend tells him. And so Duryodhana goes to Bhishma again and he says, if you don't want to fight, let Karna fight. And again, Bhishma is so hurt because imagine, this is his 3rd generation of life. He's really old. He had a boon that he will not be killed. He can choose his time of death. And his stepmother made him promise that he will not leave the kingdom until the rightful person is sitting on the throne. And so Bhishma is tired. He's tired of talking to Duryodhana. He's tired of life. And here he is, an old man, fully white hair, like old man, right? White beard, fighting with his life. And all that he's hearing is, you're not good enough, you're not fighting good enough, this is not good enough, why aren't you fighting? And so Bhishma gets tired. And he says, I have told you so many times, I cannot kill the Pandavas, but you see what I do to their army tomorrow. And so now, on the 9th day, really, Bhishma turns into like a forest fire. You know a forest fire when in the dry season. It could burn everything. That is what it looked like. It looked like Bhishma was just burning the whole army of the Pandavas. And Bhagavan Sri Krishna told Arjuna, the only way we can win is you have to fight with him. And Arjuna says, I really don't want to fight with my family. It is so hard. I don't want the kingdom at their cost. But I'll do what you say. Okay, fine, I'll do what you say. This is what Arjuna says. And Arjuna goes, and he starts to fight with Bhishma. And Bhishma is fighting with all his life, ferociously. And Arjuna again, soft arrows he's sending to Bhishma. Again, Bhagavan Sri Krishna gets angry. Again, he jumps out of his chariot. Again, he takes his chakra. Again, he's about to send it to Bhishma. And this time, Bhishma says, Bhagavan, you're not getting away. You're going to take my life. This is it. Because Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Bhishma considers him to be Bhagavan. And he says, what is a greater thing than being killed at the hands of Bhagavan? Rid me of this life. I'm tired. And Arjuna again comes and holds onto his feet and he's crying. And he makes a promise again to Bhagavan. Bhagavan, I will fight. Please don't break your word. Please don't pick a weapon. Please don't do this. And so Bhagavan Krishna gets up and gets back on the chariot and Arjuna finally fights. Now this happens 2 times to Bhishma. Bhagavan Krishna vowed not to pick a weapon. And he only picked a weapon 2 times. And both times it was in front of Bhishma. And the reason he did that, one was because it is said that Bhishma had made a promise that he would make Bhagavan Krishna pick up a weapon. He's his devotee, he has to fulfill his word. But more than that, Bhagavan Krishna was showing Bhishma how a vow that we take, any vow that we take, is worth breaking, is allowed to be broken to uphold dharma. Bhishma, I don't know if you know, Bhishma had taken 3 vows. He had taken a vow that he would never get married. No, he had taken a vow he would never sit on the throne of Hastinapura, even though he was the rightful heir. He had taken a vow that he would never get married, so he would never have children who could fight for the throne. And he had taken a vow that he would always remain loyal to the person who was sitting on the throne. These were his vows. And one of his weaknesses, which is the reason that he fought for Adharma being such a great, noble person, was his adherence to his vow. How is it that such a great person was on the side of Adharma? It is because, see, what is the use of, now you might say, well, keeping your vow is a right thing, isn't it? But what is the use of being loyal to someone who is unrighteous? Imagine you took a vow and you said, okay, the school in the village, I take a vow that every day for the rest of my life, I am going to go to the market and I'm going to buy apples and I'm going to give every single child an apple. Take a vow for the rest of my life every day. Now some years pass and you find out that they have started putting toxic chemicals on the apples. And when people eat the apples, they get sick. And you say, no, but I have taken a vow. I have to feed the children the apples. I don't care. Poison, no poison, it doesn't matter. That sounds sensible? The circumstance has changed. So now the vow that you took has to be re-evaluated. Because the lives of the people are at stake. This is exactly what happened here in this kingdom as well. The person who sat on the throne became adharmic. So Bhagavan Sri Krishna broke his vow and showed Bhishma that greater than an individual vow is the fight for dharma. It doesn't matter what your individual vow is. What matters is that you are on the side of dharma. And this is a lesson for us. Remember, all the characters of the Mahabarata, we're not supposed to judge them. We're supposed to learn from them and see their decisions and how it played out and learn from it. Because there is a Bhishma inside us also. A Bhishma is there in us who has made vows and doesn't break it because of, I'm not going to let go of my vow. That is ego, not letting go of a vow that is going to cause destruction to me or others, Bhagavan is saying that is not the right thing. It is true, he got great, great, great blessings for holding on to his vow. But he also suffered greatly for being on the side of the Dharma. So Bhagavan Krishna shows very, very clearly that, listen, individual vows are not greater than Dharma. Dharma is greater than any individual vow a person takes. This is a very important lesson to Bhishma. He still didn't learn. Bhagavan Krishna picked up a weapon 2 times in front of him and he still didn't say, oh, so I'm allowed to break my vow. I'm allowed to go on the other side. He didn't say that. Why? Because I cannot break my vow. See, we have the opposite problem. Where we make vows and we don't stick to them, right? But the point is that we should never put anything individual over the cause of righteousness. This was the lesson. Okay, now, some people say, but Bhagavan Krishna was on the Pandava side and he was always helping them. But Bhagavan Krishna would have helped anybody who asked for help. He told Karna that, Karna, you come and fight on the side of your brothers. I will take you to them. You will get greatness. You will be the eldest Pandava. And Karna said, no, Bhagavan, you don't know. I can't leave Duryodhana. My loyalty to a criminal is greater than you telling me I'm allowed to switch to Dharma. This is basically his response. If Bhishma had thought, this vow, I don't know what to do. It feels like the wrong thing to fight for the Kauravas, but I have this vow. If he had gone to Bhagavan Krishna and said, this is my dilemma, you think Bhagavan Krishna wouldn't have given him advice? Bhagavan would have given advice freely. In fact, Bhagavan Krishna told him and all the elders in the Kaurava court, you imprison Duryodhana, you imprison his wicked friends, and you stop this war from happening. But he didn't listen. So Bhagavan Krishna was not partial. He was ready to give advice to anyone who was ready to listen. That was the key. Anyways, so now the 9th night, 9 days have finished, the sun sets, and finally this destruction, Arjuna fought vehemently. Bhishma was so proud to see how bravely he was fighting. He was admiring Arjuna's warfare. But anyways, on the 9th night, they're sitting now, and Yudhishthira is speaking to Bhagavan Krishna. And he says, Bhagavan Krishna, there's no way that we can win this war if Bhishma Pitamaha is fighting on the battlefield. Impossible. He's going to ravish our army like nothing. And Bhagavan Krishna says, you are right. And he says, so then they start to think, what can we do to get rid of Bhishma? Like, what can we do to defeat him? Because that's the only way to win. For Dharma to win. And so Bhagavan Krishna says, well, I can defeat him. Tomorrow I can go and I can fight him. And he says, and he sees Yudhishthira looking at him like, but you're not supposed to fight, Krishna. What are you saying? Why are you suggesting this? And Bhagavan Krishna says, well, there's another person who can defeat Bhishma, and that is Arjuna. But he has to be ready. He's too soft. He's too attached. He's too sensitive. You need to be on the pairs of opposites to be able to do this. I can do this. And Arjuna says, well, what will Arjuna say? He said so many times he'll fight, and he's just not fighting well enough, right? And so Yudhishthira says, no, Bhagavan, I love you so much. I can't even express my gratitude for how you're ready to break your vow, but I am not going to let you spoil your name. There must be another way. And he says, why don't we go ask Bhishma Pitamaha how to defeat him? And so Bhagavan Krishna says, that's a great idea. So they leave all their armor, they leave all their weapons, they leave their shoes, and they go barefoot now to the tent of this Bhishma Pitamaha. Remember, they're allowed to go to each other and all that, right? So they go to the tent of Bhishma Pitamaha. And Bhishma Pitamaha sees them, and seeing them, he's so happy. He says, you all are fighting so well, I am so proud of you. And he's expressing his love for these Pandavas. Now, Yudhishthira says, it breaks my heart to ask you this. But at the beginning of the war, you blessed us to be victorious. We cannot be victorious as long as you are fighting. What can we do this, but you please tell, what can we do to defeat you? And so now Bhishma says to them, I am so happy you asked. And he takes Arjuna on his lap like he did when he was a little child. And he says, listen, there is a warrior on your side called Shikandi. And he tells them how Shikandi was once upon a time a woman called Amba. And Amba had wanted Bhishma to marry her because of some long circumstances and all. And he said, but no, I'm a Khanda brahmachari, I cannot marry you. And she had taken a vow that she would be the cause of his death. Right? And so she was reborn as Shikandi to Drupada, her father, who was the Pandavas' father-in-law. And he said that Shikandi ended up changing from woman to man. But so Shikandi is a man fighting in this battle, but I only see that Shikandi as Amba, as a woman, and I have refused to fight with a woman. And so what you do is you put this Shikandi in front of Arjuna, and I will put down my weapons. And at that time, Arjuna has to shoot me. So he tells, this is the only way I can be defeated. And he says, Arjuna, you rain arrows on me and I will rain blessings on you. I'm tired of this life. You please, this is the greatest thing you will do for me. Tomorrow you must defeat me. And so with heavy hearts, now they go back to their tent. And the next day, and for the first time, it is described that for the first time in a very, very long time, Bhishma finally feels peaceful. The next day he's glowing. There's a brilliance about him that Duryodhana cannot understand. But Duryodhana thinks, wow, today's the day. We're going to defeat the Pandavas today. He has no idea what's coming. And Arjuna says to Krishna, but how can I do this? How can I do this? Arjuna is us. He has been taught Bhagavad Gita directly by Bhagavan Shri Krishna himself. And here he is for the third and fourth and fifth time saying, but I can't fight my family, but I can't fight Bhishma, but I can't fight him. And Bhagavan looked at him and said, you have to give up your attachment and you have to do your duty. This is your duty. That is why you have to do it. This is not about family, this is about duty to Dharma. And so now, everybody on the Kaurava side comes to try to protect Bhishma. That was their main thing. Bhishma is the ticket to our victory and he must be protected at all costs. And everyone on the Pandava side has lined up now to try to defeat Bhishma today. And so Bhishma starts to fight. And everybody is protecting Bhishma on that side. And Arjuna's chariot is lined up in front of Bhishma. And finally, after some time passes and so many different battles are fought and all of that, it so happens at one moment, all the warriors on the Kaurava side who are protecting Bhishma happen to be busy in their own little duels with other people. So they're busy, they're distracted. And at that time, Bhishma's life flashes in front of him. And he thinks about all the things he had to go through from the time that he was that young boy who made the vow to not sit on the throne, to all the injustices that he saw happen to the Pandavas, and all the times he thought he should have spoken up, but he didn't. And at that time he says, I am ready for death. Remember, he had a boon of Ichcha Marana, to choose his own time of death. And at this time he said, I choose my time of death. I'm ready to die. And at that time, Bhagavan Shri Krishna says to Arjuna, now, shoot! And Shikandi is standing in front, and so Bhishma won't shoot back. And Arjuna takes his arrows, and he's crying. He's crying. And he's shooting and shooting. And Arjuna's arrows pierce Bhishma, and Bhishma is joyous, and he's saying, these are my Arjuna's arrows. Whose else arrows could so beautifully hit me like this? And he's so proud of his Arjuna. And after thousands of arrows have been sent, this great Bhishma falls. He doesn't fall on the battlefield. falls on a bed of arrows. And when Bhishma falls, there is pin-drop silence. Everybody stops fighting. Everybody comes there to pay their respect to the greatest warrior that was there on the battlefield. And everybody comes and is shocked, spellbound, speechless about how Bhishma could have fallen. Bhishma fought Parashuramji, and he couldn't be defeated. There was no one that could defeat Bhishma. But Bhishma here now is finally defeated by Arjuna. And with tears in everybody's eyes, they're surrounding our Bhishma Pitamaha. And at that time it is said, his mother was Ganga Maya, and she sent the rishis to come and get him. In the form of swans, it is described that they came. And he said, no, actually, the sun, I'm going to wait for the sun to change its direction to the northern direction. You know, they say it's auspicious to die when the sun is in Uttarayana. You might have heard after Makar Sankranti. So he said, I'm going to wait until the sun changes direction. So that would have been maybe about 5 or 6 weeks he was going to wait. Because he gets to choose when he dies, right? He said, I'm going to wait. And at that time he says, my head is hurting. I want a pillow. And so Duryodhana sends for like the fanciest silk pillows to be brought for him. They're brought in, he says, no, I don't want these pillows. Call Arjuna. And so Arjuna comes forward. Arjuna, I want a pillow. And Arjuna shoots 3 arrows that allows Bhishma to put his head and rest on an pillow of arrows. Then Duryodhana calls for royal physicians to come and try to take the arrows out of him and try to heal his wounds so that at least, his pain is subsided for the remaining days that he decides to live. And Bhishma Pitamaha says, no. Give them what is due to them, but I'm going to stay here on this battlefield, just like this, on this bed of arrows until I'm gone. And I want to be burned with my arrows. This is how I'm going to remain until I die. And then he says, I'm really thirsty. I would like some water. And again, Duryodhana sends for like the best nectar and fancy. I don't know what fancy water would have been in those days. He sends for some fancy water from their tent. I don't know what bottled water they had. Sparkling Kurukshetra water, I don't know. And he says, no. Call Arjuna. Arjuna, I want water. And so Arjuna takes his arrow and he invokes an astra and he shoots it on the ground, and a spring of Ganga water comes out and goes straight into the mouth of Bhishma. It's like his mother came to give him water. And so like this, everyone does their pranams and everyone leaves Bhishma now on the battlefield. And that day the war is paused right there. No one goes back to fight because such a momentous event has happened. He's loved by everybody on both sides. So it's a loss for the Kauravas, but really it's a loss for everybody. So they did not fight anymore that day. Now, one might think, well, what is the symbolism of all these arrows? So many arrows. One arrow should have been enough. Why so many arrows? And why did he not allow the arrows to be taken out? It is explained that the pain that he went through lying on that bed of arrows was to atone for all the adharma that he had sided with over all the years. Because it is true that he was great, but he had also done wrong things. He watched the disrobing of Draupadi and he didn't say anything. He watched Duryodhana do terrible things and try to kill the Pandavas and he didn't do anything. And so his lying on the bed of arrows was an acknowledgement of the papa karma that he had done, that he didn't say anything about, that he was present for but didn't speak up for, and he knew that he's atoning for all of that. And actually, he welcomed it with great joy. This is a sign of a great spiritual seeker. A great spiritual seeker is one who is ready to let whatever difficulties that have to come to them because of papa karma, let it come. Let me suffer overcoming pain and sorrow when it comes. Understanding that it is coming because of my own doing and it is coming for my own good. Well, that day our life will change. The day that we are able to go through sorrow and learn from it, that day our sorrow will not come and have been in vain. So the sorrow and the pain he was going through was not in vain. He was happy that he got a chance to face the consequences of his actions and finish everything. In fact, Bhagavan Krishna said, at the time that he had fallen, he said that you're free now. Now you be happy. You will not be born again. And you are the greatest hero in this Kuru dynasty. Imagine what Bhagavan Shri Krishna himself said about Bhishma. So yes, he made his mistakes, but his nobility was something that will shine even more as we see how the rest of the army is managed under the rest of the Kauravas. Okay? And so now Bhishma is left on the battlefield. Now night time comes. And at night time, Radhya, Karna, thinks to himself, he feels really sad about Bhishma's fall. Because he just found out Bhishma is his grandfather. Right? Bhishma is his grandfather too. And he thinks to himself about all the times he said rude and mean and wicked things to this Bhishma, not knowing he was his grandfather. And in his heart, and he also knew what a great warrior Bhishma was. Nobody could deny how great he was. And so he felt like his heart just pulled him to go and see this Bhishma. And he goes there and he's holding Bhishma's feet and he's crying. And Bhishma says, who is it whose tears are burning me more than these arrows? Means, who is here with so much love and sorrow? And Karna said, it is me, Karna, the unfortunate one who never had the fortune of being loved by you. And Bhishma said, what are you talking about? You are my grandson. I have always loved you. And Karna said, you know that I am your grandson? And he said, yes. Bhagavan Veda Vyasaji told us a long time ago, but we were sworn to secrecy. We couldn't say anything. And he said, I always loved you. But when I would taunt you, when I would say things to you, it is because you were saying things against the Pandavas, and I did not like to see you say that. I said mean things to you to keep your pride in check. I said things that I didn't like because it was because of you that Duryodhana fought with the Pandavas with such confidence. It is because of all these reasons that I kept saying things to you like that. But I love you like I love Duryodhana. This is happening when he's about, like, look at this scenario. And at that time he tells Karna, you are really great. There's still time. Leave Duryodhana. Go to your brothers. And again Karna says, I cannot. I am too indebted to Duryodhana to switch sides. And he doesn't. And with great love, he asks Bhishma for forgiveness for all the things that he said and did over the years. And Bhishma forgives him. And it's like a burden has been lifted off of his heart. And Bhishma gives him blessings, and now Karna also leaves. And this is a wonderful section of the fall of Bhishma. Very sad, but very powerful. Okay, so now it is after Bhishma falls that Sanjaya runs back to Dhritarashtra and tells him that Bhishma has fallen. And it is now that he tells him all of this that I told is now told on day 10 to Dhritarashtra. And he tells Dhritarashtra, you're the only one who can stop this war. There's still time. Bhishma has fallen. Stop it now. And Dhritarashtra says, well, I can't do anything about it. Dhritarashtra is literally the only person who can say, stop the war, and it has to be stopped. But Dhritarashtra is us. See some things about Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra is blind, physically blind. But he is also internally blinded by his excessive attachment for his son, Duryodhana. Have you seen parents? Their children are doing naughty, wicked, wrong things, and the parents just watch And the parents say, well, I can't help it. They don't listen to me. That is papa on the parents. Bhagavan Shri Krishna tells Duryodhana that, tells Dhritarashtra, that is your fault. Duryodhana is like this because of you. You're going to face the papa of this. Huh? Blinded by attachment. Every time that we make a decision based on attachment, meaning seeking happiness from something, that is us being Dhritarashtra. Blinded by our attachment, seeking happiness and not thinking about what is right and what is wrong. We are being Dhritarashtra. The other thing is, he was blind, and therefore he was not allowed to be king. And you know, sometimes parents who couldn't fulfill their own dreams, they want to fulfill it through their children. Have you seen? You must be a doctor. You must be an accountant. You must be a whatever. Huh? You must be this. You must be a musician. All kinds of things. But the child must be cut out for that. Duryodhana was not cut out to be a king. He was cut out to be a Rakshasa. And you want to put him on the throne. So you have to see what it is that my child is cut out for, not what I want to see my child doing. Huh? The third thing about Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, was the unsteadiness of his mind. When his brother Vidura would go and do satsang with him, he would think, yes, we should give back the Pandavas their kingdom. Yes, what Duryodhana is not doing is not good. Yes, I should talk to him. And then the wicked club would come, and Kusanga would come, and they would talk to him, and all of the satsanga that he heard went down the drain, and he was ready again to let injustice happen. Is that not us? When we come and we listen to satsang and we hear all these inspiring, noble things, we say, yes, I'm not going to lie again. Yes, I'm going to wake up when my alarm rings. Yes, I'm going to do this. Yes, I'm going to do that. Yes, I'm not going to eat junk food, and all kinds of things we say. And then we pick up our phone, which is our biggest kusanga of today, and we open Instagram Reels, and we start to scroll, and then we see somebody eating a chocolate cake, and we say, well, I want some too. Correct or wrong? Well, we are Dhritarashtra. Our mind is weak. So how do we face the world knowing our mind is weak? We avoid kusanga and stay in satsanga as much as possible. Otherwise, we will suffer like Dhritarashtra suffered. He lost every single child. And he heard from Sanjaya how every single child of his was killed by Bhishma, crushed by Bhishma. You know how we kill flies and mosquitoes? Every single child was killed by Bhishma, by Bhima, one by one. And he had to hear about it. It's not easy. So we are Dhritarashtra. The final thing, as I said, he was the only one who could have stopped the war. But he used his blindness as a ticket for pity. And he kept saying, oh, feel pity for me. I'm so helpless. Look at how unfortunate I am. And he never owned up to his responsibility. Do we do that or not? We feel sorry for ourselves for situations that come to us in life, and we use that as an excuse to not own up to the responsibilities that we have to face in our life. The next generation, it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. You know, someone says something mean to them in school, and that's it. Their whole day is finished. Or you go to work nowadays. You know, in the olden days, you know how hard our grandparents and great-grandparents worked. In today's day and age, modern generation, they go to work and their boss says something mean to them, and they need to take a mental health day. They need to go home and cry in their pillow and feel better. No, I'm telling really. That is what I'm feeling sorry for myself, and I'm not ready to face the responsibilities that are given to me. Dhritarashtra. That is Dhritarashtra in us. So we study this to see the Dhritarashtra in us and make sure that we catch him before he comes out. The laughter is telling me it's correct. Right? Okay. With Bhishma's fall, now the chapter called Bhishma Parva is finished. Now we enter the next chapter called Drona Parva. Until now, remember, Karna was not fighting Duryodhana's friend. Now that Bhishma has fallen and he's not going to fight, Karna can come back to fight. And so Karna actually, it is described over the days of the war, of the 10 days of the war, he was actually happy that Bhishma had said he shouldn't fight. Because he used those 10 days to strengthen his mind, to come to terms with the fact that he was going to fight with his brothers. Remember, he has his brothers now, who were his sworn enemies, and now he loves them more than Bhishma loves them, all of a sudden. So much love oozing out of him, and he realized, no, I have to make my mind strong. So he was happy for the fact that he was able to have a break from this 10 days. The other thing is he felt very sorry for Duryodhana, because Duryodhana was not listening to the fact that the Pandavas could not be defeated. He was not listening to the fact that they were not going to win. And another reason he felt sorry was Duryodhana was telling Karna, every single other powerful person in my army has their love is for the Pandavas. They're fighting here, but they love the Pandavas. You, Karna, are the only one who hates the Pandavas as much as I do. Now, Karna, he can't tell Duryodhana, I don't hate them. I love them more than you could ever imagine. And so he feels so sorry about how Duryodhana is not listening to anybody. He saw Bhagavan's Vishwarupa. He got Vishwarupa darshan of Bhagavan. And still, in his mind, he couldn't understand the implications of the fact that the Lord of the universe is on the side of the Pandavas. And so he prayed for strength to be loyal to his friend, to fight his brothers, and to do his duty. Now day 11 comes, and Karna is ready to come onto the battlefield. And Duryodhana goes to him and he says, well, I can't think anymore now that Bhishma has fallen. I cannot think anymore. You tell me who you think should be the next commander-in-chief of the army. Because Bhishma is no more the commander-in-chief, he's gone. And so Karna thinks and he says, I think that the next commander-in-chief should be Drona. He's the next most experienced and he's quite senior. So the respectful thing to do would be to ask Drona to be the commander-in-chief of our army. And so with great humility, Duryodhana goes to Drona. Duryodhana is great. You know how spoiled children know how to get what they want? That is Duryodhana. When he wants to get something, he knows how to sweet talk and say the right things and butter up. And like that, he goes to Duryodhana with so much humility and to Drona with so much humility. And Drona is very happy and he says, yes, I will be your next commander-in-chief. And so now you see a side of Drona that we had not seen until this point. Suddenly, he wants to please Duryodhana. Now please note, this is a demonstration of what happens when a person gets power. The more power a wicked person gets, the more corrupt they become. So now Drona has become the most powerful person there. He's the commander-in-chief. He's the boss. And he says to Duryodhana, with no prompting of Duryodhana, Duryodhana, I want to do something to make you happy. I want to give you a boon. Ask for something. Tell me what I can do to please you. Who is he asking? Wicked Duryodhana. Duryodhana says, oh, okay. I want you to go and capture Yudhishthira for me. Drona says, well, I cannot kill Yudhishthira. It is impossible. I've already told you the Pandavas cannot be killed. He says, no. I don't want you to kill him. I want you to go and capture him and bring him for me. What? You want me to capture him? He says, I want you to capture him and bring him for me so I can play a game of dice with him again. The game of dice is what sent them to the forest in exile in the first place. He said, bring him and I will play a game of dice with him and I will send him back to the forest again. Because he can see he's not winning by battle, by war. So now he wants to use trickery again to try to defeat the Pandavas. And so Drona says, well, and Drona knew the effects of how that game of dice went down, the terrible way it went down. He was there, he saw. And still he agrees. And he says, well, the only way I can capture Yudhishthira is if Arjuna is not there. If Arjuna is there, I cannot capture him. But if Arjuna is not there, then I can capture him for you. And so Duryodhana says, you don't worry. I will take care of Arjuna. I will make sure Arjuna is not with him so you can capture him. Now, the spies, they have spies on both sides. So now the spies of the Pandava army go back and tell. And at this point, Arjuna loses all respect for his guru. His guru who he loved so much. And he says, I understand. Fine, he had to fight for the Kauravas because, the Kauravas took care of him and paid him and all of that. And fine, they say there's that phrase that he ate their souls, so he had to fight for them. But this, Duryodhana didn't ask for this. There was no need for this. And he has gone and he has promised Yudhishthira, he has promised Duryodhana to please him. At this point, Arjuna loses all respect for him. So now the Kauravas come up with a big plan where the first part is to drive Arjuna away. And so Arjuna has there's a set of people, there's an army called the Trigartas that hate Arjuna and they want to see him dead. And so they said, you leave Arjuna to us. We will challenge him and he won't have a choice. He'll have to say yes. And we will take him away and we will fight with him and we will deal with him. And so Arjuna was not allowed to say no to a challenge. That's part of the rules of the Mahabarata war. And so he turns to Yudhishthira and he says, listen, if I am not here and if Drona is getting close to you, I want you to run away from the battlefield like a coward. Promise me you're going to do that. Because Duryodhana cannot capture you. It cannot happen, not allowed. And Yudhishthira promises him, if Drona is getting too close, I will run away. And with this, Arjuna goes. Now part 2, so Arjuna goes and he's fighting. Part 2 of the plan is they have a whole line of warriors now to help Drona to attack Yudhishthira. What is the plan? Capture Yudhishthira. And so, without Arjuna, they're not as powerful. The Pandavas' power is in Arjuna and Krishna, right? And so without them, they're fighting very hard. But the Kaurava army is just too powerful, and Drona finally gets really close to Yudhishthira. And at that time, actually, Duryodhana thinks, now they're going to retreat. And for the first time, Karna tells him, listen, the Pandavas are not chickens. They're not cowards. They're not going to run away. You cannot defeat them. For the first time, Karna finally speaks sense to Duryodhana. He gives him right perspective. He says, don't fool yourself. They're not cowards. And they're not going to forget the injustice that you have done to them. So now Arjuna has defeated the Trigartas. And he's coming back to go to Yudhishthira. And he's stopped by another very powerful warrior called Bhagadatta. I don't know if you know who's Bhagadatta. Very powerful warrior who had a very powerful elephant. That elephant was so powerful that even Bhima, who had the strength of 8,000 elephants, couldn't defeat that elephant. That's how strong he was. And so this Bhagadatta and his elephant are causing havoc. Havoc means havoc everywhere. They're destroying, pulverizing the Pandava army. And so Arjuna now faces him to fight with him. And he's sending weapon after weapon after weapon. And finally, he throws his goad. You know the thing that they use to choke the elephant to move him around? That goad of his was actually a weapon. And he threw it at Arjuna. And this weapon was actually an astra. It was actually a divine weapon that whoever it is thrown at, it was the Vishnu's weapon. Whoever it is thrown at, that person is going to die for sure. And so now everyone in the battlefield goes silent. And they watch this goad being thrown and going about to hit Arjuna. And everyone thinks, well, that's it. Arjuna's dead. And at that time, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, who is the charioteer of Arjuna, he gets up. And he takes the hit of that weapon on himself. And it's so, now whose weapon is it? Vishnu's weapon. Bhagavan Krishna's weapon. And when that weapon touches him, it turns into a mala of flowers. And his weapon comes back to him. And Arjuna is saved. Like this. Now, Arjuna finally is, without that weapon, he's powerless now. And so Arjuna sends an arrow and kills his elephant. He sends another arrow and he kills Bhagadatta. And finally, this great Bhagadatta has fallen. He was a great person. He was also friends with Arjuna's father. And so Arjuna now gets off his chariot and he goes and he does pradakshina of this great warrior who is now dead. Means he shows his respect for the person who has just been killed. Because yes, we are at war and yes, we have to fight, but you are still great. You're still my father's friend. You're still like my father. And he shows his respect and his reverence by doing pradakshina. And everybody sees that respect on both sides. Right? Now, for 2 days, this effort went on of trying to capture Yudhishthira, but it was unsuccessful. 2 days, Arjuna was taken away to fight, and 2 days, it was unsuccessful. And so Duryodhana goes to taunt Drona. You didn't do what you said you would do. You didn't do what you said you would do. Look, nothing is happening. The Pandavas are defeating us. You haven't been able to capture Yudhishthira. You've broken your promise. You can't do anything. You love the Pandavas too much. Now, Bhishma was used to Duryodhana's taunts, but Drona was not. And Drona got angry. He didn't know that Duryodhana was impossible to please. And he's still on this spree of trying to please Duryodhana. So he said, tomorrow, Duryodhana, I will make sure that one of the greatest warriors on the Pandava side falls. Tomorrow you're going to be very happy with me. I'm going to make sure one great warrior is lost on your side tomorrow. You will thank me. What is his motive? Please Duryodhana. That is how he is planning everything now. Do something to please Duryodhana. The next day, he decides to set the army in what's called a Padma Vyuha. Every day the armies were put into different formations, and according to the formations, you had to fight differently. There's great intelligence in warfare as well. And so, this Padma Vyuha, it's a lotus formation. It's also called a Chakra Vyuha, a circle formation. It had 2 names, right? And so, it's more commonly known as a Chakra Vyuha. And so he makes this Chakra Vyuha, and again the Trigartas take Arjuna to some other part of the battlefield to fight. Now, this Chakra Vyuha is impenetrable. This formation of the army is impenetrable, and the Kaurava army is destroying the Pandava army. Destroying the Pandava army at an alarming rate. And the Pandavas, Yudhishthira, Bhima, they're all thinking, well, we have to be able to enter this formation, otherwise our army is going to be destroyed right here, right now. We have to do something. But the problem was that Chakra Vyuha was not easy to enter. There were only 4 people who knew how to enter it. Arjuna, Bhagavan Shri Krishna, Bhagavan Shri Krishna's son, who was not on the battlefield, and Abhimanyu, Arjuna's son. Arjuna's 16-year-old son, Abhimanyu. He was the only other one who knew. And he said to his uncles, I know how to enter it. I know how to break it and enter. But I don't know how to come out. You know, there's this famous story, you must have heard this story, where Arjuna is telling Subhadra, Abhimanyu's mother, about this Chakra Vyuha formation. While Abhimanyu is in the womb, she's telling the mother. And I mean, what interest does she have in all this? So as he's talking, she falls asleep. And then Arjuna stops talking. And so Abhimanyu says, I learned how to enter this Chakra Vyuha, but I did not learn how to leave. So I can enter, but once I enter, I will be stuck. And so all the Pandavas say, no, Abhimanyu, we will go with you. You just break it, and we are right behind you. Right behind you. We will go in together. And so Abhimanyu says, okay, let's do it. And with great bravery, he goes, and he breaks open this formation, and he enters. And as he's entering, he has all of his uncles behind him, means all the Pandavas, and he has all these great warriors that are fighting for them. And they're all coming in together. And then what happens is, as Abhimanyu is going, someone called Jayadratha, brother-in-law of Duryodhana, he comes in front of everybody else. Once Abhimanyu passes, he comes and he stops. And he had a boon from Lord Shiva that for 1 day of the one day of the war, when Arjuna and Krishna are not there, he will be able to defeat all the other Pandavas. This was a boon that Lord Shiva had given him. Backstory is there. You can go back and see. So this was his day. He stopped all the warriors from entering with Abhimanyu. Single-handedly defeated them because he had a boon. They couldn't understand how this Jayadratha is able to defeat all of us. But that was his day. What to say? And Abhimanyu now is going in and he looks back with his big smile at his uncle. And he looked more brilliant. Actually, the description is there that he looked like Arjuna himself going in there. And he shone like a brilliant sun going into this Chakravarti. And when he entered, he fought like no other warrior has ever fought before. A young 16-year-old child fighting. He killed thousands of warriors single-handedly, and it's not an exaggeration. In the Mahabarata, all the details are given. Thousands of warriors he killed single-handedly. And he entered the center of the Chakravyuha where Duryodhana and all these great warriors were. And they were shocked. They couldn't believe that he had reached the center. And so now we have Abhimanyu single-handedly fighting each person one by one. Karna came, he defeated Karna. Right? That's nothing. Duryodhana came, he defeated Duryodhana. Duryodhana had to run away. Shakuni came, he defeated Shakuni. Shakuni had to run away. Every single person on that side. Even Drona could not fight with Abhimanyu. That is how powerful he was. He was destroying their army like you cannot believe. Then Karna went to, Shakuni said, if he is not destroyed, we will all die today. All of us will die today. That is how powerful this Abhimanyu was alone. One Abhimanyu, Arjuna's son. And Shakuni said, the only way to defeat him is if all of us fight with him. He's too powerful alone. The rule that was set and agreed upon at the beginning of the war was only one person will fight with another person at a time. You cannot have multiple people fighting one person. Another rule was you cannot attack somebody from the back. Another rule was you cannot attack somebody whose weapon has been destroyed, who doesn't have a weapon. And another rule was you cannot fight with somebody using a weapon that they don't have. Another rule was that you cannot fight somebody when they're not conscious. Right? At this moment, every single rule was broken. Every single rule, except the sunset rule, was broken. Huh? Karna asked Dronacharya. He said, I don't know how we can defeat him. He's just too powerful. The only reason I'm here and I haven't run away is because I'm here to protect Duryodhana. I would have run by now. His arrows are burning me. I can't handle him. And Drona said, you have to break his bow. But you can't break his bow from the front. You have to break it from the back. Then you have to kill his horses. You have to break his chariot. And that is what they did. From the back, Karna broke his bow. He thought, who could have done something so unwarrior-like? And he turned to look who it was. When he turned, one of them killed his charioteer. Another one killed his horses. Another one broke his chariot. And here he was now. No chariot, no charioteer, no bow and arrow. He looked around and he picked up his sword and he started to fight with his sword. They cut that and broke that too. He's fighting. They're all fighting him at the same time, and it is not allowed to fight at the same time. And he kept saying to them, why are you fighting so ignobly? Come and fight with me one at a time, and fight. I will fight with each of you one at a time, but fight fairly. One at a time come. Why are you all fighting with me together? And in the most painful scene of the Mahabharata, this Abhimanyu was, the word used is murdered. He was murdered at this time by 6 Maharathis: Karna, Duryodhana, Shakuni, Karna, Kripacharya, and the son of Dushasana. 6 of them attacked this Abhimanyu. Everything. He picked up the wheel of his chariot and he used that and he said, fight with me one at a time. Fight with me one at a time. I will defeat each of you. Fight with me fairly, one at a time. And they were all attacking him at the same time. Finally exhausted from 6 warriors' blows, he fell. And as he was trying to get up, Dushasana's son gave him another blow as he was half conscious. And he never got up. Anybody who talks about the glory of the Kauravas forgets this episode that Abhimanyu was murdered on the Kurukshetra. It is described that this was the worst thing that happened on the battlefield of Toli. Anyways, actually something even worse happened after that. Remember what happened when Arjuna killed Bhagadatta? He went and did pradakshina. These 6 warriors now started to dance around Abhimanyu's dead body. Like animals, worse than animals. It's described worse than monsters and animals. And Jayadratha came and kicked the dead body. This was the biggest insult for one of the greatest warriors that was there. When they heard the joyous screams of the Kauravas, the Pandavas knew Abhimanyu was killed. So now, tomorrow we will see how they responded to that. This is a sad section of the Mahabarata. Bhagavan Sri Krishna himself calls what happened murder. He said, your son was not killed, he was murdered. That is the description Bhagavan Krishna gives. Okay? So we'll see how it is handled. I mean, losing a warrior on the battlefield is one thing. Losing them fairly. But losing them unfairly is something totally different. Please remember, this did not happen when Bhishma Pitamaha was around. He was fighting on their side, but this could not have happened if he was alive. Huh? This is the difference between Bhishma and Drona. Okay. I'll share a few announcements and then we will do Arti. I think many of you know, seeing familiar faces also here now. My Mission is a teaching organization. We're here in Guyana to teach Shastra, to teach anything in Hinduism we teach. We teach Bhagavad Gita, whether it's chanting or understanding the meaning, whether it is Ramayana, chanting or the meaning, whether it is Mahabarata, symbolism in Hinduism, how to become a pandit, how to do puja, everything that is teachable, that we're able to teach, we happily are here to teach. Huh? If anyone is interested in studying Sanatana Dharma, at any age, from the time a child is in the womb, actually you saw how Abhimanyu learned in the womb, this chapter you have from it, right? In our tradition, it has been known since centuries, decades, since the world began, since the manifestation that prenatal education is a real thing. And so, in Chinmay Mission, we have a course on prenatal education as well. All the way till the person is a senior. From the time the child is conceived to the time that the person, Gurudev said, from the womb to the tomb, there is something for them to study at their level of their interest. Okay, so this is happening online and in person across Guyana. We're happy to come here anytime also. Thank you all for hosting this 11th night of the Mahabarata. I hope you got a glimpse into how fascinating the story is and how many things we can learn also. Because we have to finish the story, we can see only few things here and there, but every single story has so many lessons if you stop to just think about them. Huh? Okay, outside we have some books on sale. I'll just quickly tell you about them. See, this book is called Dharma Shastra. In short, little, simple language, all different perspectives on Dharma are given. Way to peace, prosperity, and purity. And it is by Swami Teja Mainaka. You will not find a more simple explanation, and yet at the same time deep. Holy Gita. exclamation, Mayananda. And this Holy Gita comes in the middle of Mahabarata. We finished it in one sentence. And yesterday in one sentence he said, and then he told Gita, right? But this Bhagavad Gita is the most fascinating manual for life. I heard just a couple of days ago someone quoted that the Bhagavad Gita is the summary of the Mahabharata, and the Mahabharata is the elaboration on the Bhagavad Gita. And so if it is of interest, please do see. Navratri is coming up. We have Glory of Mother, we have Glory of Krishna, so many books like this. And kids' books. Kids' books, each story is taken and put into picture form. This one is about how Hanumanji goes to try to eat the sun. And then, of course, and then we have other storybooks with multiple stories. You know, if you're looking for stories to tell in the mandir or at bedtime, you know, endless stories are there. You can check it out. Okay. We'll do Bhagavad Gita Aarti, and then, oh yes, starting in October, we will be training people who are interested in becoming teachers to teach the chanting of Bhagavad Gita chapter 12. If you have half an hour, if you have 1 hour a week to spare, half an hour twice a week, from October to December, we will train you on how to chant Bhagavad Gita chapter 12. And if you pass 100%, then you can become a teacher to teach other people from January to April. We're seeking interest. If anyone is interested in this, our responsibility is to make sure we teach it properly, and your responsibility is to enjoy and learn it. So if you're interested, you come and let me know. It'll be so nice if one person from each mandir comes and learns, and then you can actually teach it in your own mandirs also, right? So this will be online. You can, from right where you are, you can learn. Okay, we'll do Bhagavad Gita Aarti now, and then we will see. Let's all stand for Aarti. Sri Satguru